Hello, I'm Jonny64, and it's good to be back. So what would you get if you combined The Legend of Zelda with Ancient Egypt? You would get Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, the game I am covering today. Let's get to it. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is a 2003 action-adventure game developed by Eurocom and published by THQ, originally for release on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. I played the remastered version for Switch for this video. The game begins with the magician Ihotep talking with his apprentices, Sphinx and Horus. He sent them on a mission to retrieve the Blade of Osiris, located in the dangerous land of Uruk. You play as Sphinx, but your ally Horus is arrogant and refuses to actually work with you or help you in getting the blade. The first level serves as a tutorial to ease you into the game and its mechanics. There's some light puzzles to solve and a few fights with enemies here and there. When you reach the area with the Blade of Osiris, Horus thinks he can just go right up to it and grab it. But a laser shoots down the bridge he is crossing, and although he lands on a platform, he goes down with the lava stream, spelling his apparent doom. After you retrieve the blade, you will eventually get a mysterious amulet, which you use at the Portal God, who will transport you to different locations depending on what amulet you use. After you use the amulet, the game switches you to a new character, Tuckerman, or Tut for short. Tut is woken up by one of the servants, and he begins his adventure. Luxor Palace is huge, and there's a lot to see and do here, like collect amulets for his aunt. But before he can do that, he needs to go talk to his bombshell fiancée, Lady Nefertiti. She wants you to grab a letter that blew up onto the balcony. The little gremlin she was talking to earlier dropped it, and she wants to read the letter. After you retrieve the letter for her, she wants to talk to you in private about it later, and warns you to be careful. As I said before, the palace is huge, and your main objective is to find the amulets for your aunt. You'll be crawling around through hidden pathways and transporting around the palace in sarcophaguses, looking for them. When you retrieve them all, his aunt will give you the treasure key to put the amulets away. However, the room is ransacked, and the only thing standing tall is a suspicious sarcophagus at the end of the room. It turns out, Tut's brother was planning on betraying him and taking over the palace. After this, the game switches back to Sphinx. And this is what happens a lot during the game. When you reach certain moments in the story, the game will hop from one character back to the other. At first, it may seem kind of polarizing, but the story eventually ties these two characters together. Actually, it does right away, because Sphinx interrupts the ceremony where Tut is being killed. Tut, who is now a dead mummy, his brother, and the evil little gremlin man get sucked away in a portal. And Sphinx has to save Lady Nefertiti. After saving her, she gives him a canopic vase, which contains a fragment of Tut's soul, and an amulet which allows Sphinx to travel to the next destination. The next location you go to is Abydos, which is a large city that has important events that play out in the story, and is the home of the biggest side quests in the game, but more on that later. Going back to the minigames, there's a Simon Says-like memorization game, a match pairs board game, a target shooting game, and my personal favorite, an obstacle course game. It's a true platforming challenge. You must destroy 4 bases and reach the end in time. There are 3 courses that progressively get harder. It's challenging, but a lot of fun to play. Sphinx will bounce back and forth a lot between Abydos and Heliopolis. I would consider Heliopolis to be the main area of the game. A lot of places and events are connected to it. While Sphinx is going around exploring cities and temples, if the mummy gets brought back to life from a canopic vase, he will explore different areas of the castle of Uruk, and progress deeper into the castle each time you play as him. I wouldn't say the mummy segments of the game are my favorite. I enjoy Sphinx's parts, but when you play as the mummy, it's like the dungeons in the 3D Zelda games, which are my favorite parts in those games. It's completely puzzle focused. You actually fight no enemies as the mummy, and you can't die or be damaged as him either. His body is used to solve puzzles. Very creatively, I might add. The way he interacts with the environments he's in allows the puzzles to be unique and varied. There's 4 main gameplay elements you use nearly every time you're in a mummy segment. Being on fire, being electrocuted, paper thin mummy, and being split into 3 mummies. When the mummy is on fire, you can do things such as burn down wooden fences, and these wooden triangles, which contain onyx scarabs, which is only available in the Castle of Uruk. This currency is used exclusively at one shop in Heliopolis. When the mummy is electrocuted, he can power on things that use electricity, such as orbs or certain platforms. Who knew being crushed could be a good thing? When the mummy is paper thin, he can fit through bars or flooring with gaps. He's also lighter weight, which helps him float in the air above wind-blowing fans. Lastly, there's triple mummies, which are used to great effect. It allows for layered puzzles, such as these steps that rise up when the floor switches are pressed, and lower down when no one is on them. Look at the sequence here, for example. The mummy segments end with the mummy obtaining whatever item Sphinx needs at that current point in the story. That's not to say that Sphinx doesn't get fun gameplay too. There's still puzzles for Sphinx, but there's action mixed in as well. He's the one who gets to fight in all the boss battles, for example. Speaking of boss fights, they're interesting and all different from each other. The one I struggled the most with is the Geb Queen, because what you do isn't obvious at all. How would I know I'm supposed to get shot by her projectile? Get turned into a frog? Jump up to this platform? Free the creatures in the cages? Wait for sick creatures to attack her tail, then swing at her? Beyond knowing what to do, she pursues and attacks you relentlessly. It's just a hard boss fight all around. When you get to a certain point in the game, Ihotep warns you that once you go to fight the final boss, there's no going back. Which is true. If you go save while on the path to the final boss, you are stuck there forever. Which is why I recommend not saving there and doing everything you could possibly want to before heading to the final boss battle. I would go buy items and get your maximum health increased as much as you can. Like in Zelda, when you beat a boss, your health gets increased by 1 heart, or Ankh in this game. In this game, if you collect 4 gold Ankh pieces and do a ritual with this lady, she will permanently increase your health by 1. Remember earlier when I mentioned the biggest side quest in the game? Well, that side quest is collecting monsters for the Abydos Museum. It's totally optional but very satisfying to complete. But it's very time consuming because there is a lot of monsters to capture. You have to weaken the monsters till they start glowing yellow, then you capture them using capture beetles. Some monsters are harder to capture than others, like these mummy dogs for example. They're a real pain, because they will hump you to death if you let them. When they start humping you, you have to shake them off, but a lot of times you'll accidentally hit them, killing them when you just wanted to weaken them to the point where you can capture them. Don't do this side quest expecting a great reward, because it's just for the thrill of accomplishing this challenging objective. There's so much more I can get into with this game, but the video would go on for too long. This is a game you can tell the developers poured a lot of love into. The world feels alive and the atmosphere makes you feel like you really are in ancient Egypt. A huge shout out to the fantastic soundtrack, which helped set the mood and the atmosphere I was mentioning. You have to remember it was first released in 2003, so it's aged graphically, but I still believe the gameplay holds up. Egyptian Zelda really is the best way I can describe it. If you like the 3D Zelda games pre-Breath of the Wild, then Sphinx of the Cursed Mummy should be right up your alley. It's not a perfect game. In the OG GameCube version, I was the victim of a save bug that ruined my file 9 hours in. It happens when you save as the mummy in a certain room, and then quit the game afterwards. When you return, the door you need to enter is closed, leaving you forever stuck. Fortunately, this bug was later fixed in the PC, Switch, and backwards compatible Xbox One/Series X and X versions. However, they didn't update the save system to a more modern one. You still have to use save statues in order to save your progress. Why not let players pause the game and save from there? That was a missed opportunity. I also think that the combat would have benefited from a lock-on target system like Zelda. I think it's sad that the developers wanted to put voice acting in the game, but THQ thought it wasn't necessary, so it didn't end up happening. It would have helped make the cutscenes more immersive. Regardless of the flaws or minor gripes I have with the game, I feel a sense of nostalgia, and it's a happy reminder of what I would argue was the golden era of gaming. The 6th generation of consoles. The PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, plus the Dreamcast, all had their own great games, and games in general during the era took a lot more risk. AA games were a lot more abundant. Games with a decent budget that you couldn't consider to be indie or AAA, but had a lot of love and passion poured into them with creative gameplay and did things to separate themselves from others. This game didn't sell well and is a textbook example of a hidden gem. The ending of the game teases a sequel, and the fact it never came to fruition is a real shame. Maybe someday it will get the sequel it deserves, but for now, step into the world of Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, and be mesmerized. This was Ultra Johnny 64. See you next time.